Today we are starting a new unit in nutrition. So today we're going to start talking about a little bit about obesity and calories. Obesity in the US and why Americans are overweight is one of the first things we're going to talk about. During your assignment today, you are going to answer or give me your thoughts on why Americans are more and more overweight. So in the US, there has been a 100% increase in obese children since the late 1980s and a 200% increase in teen obesity. 1 out of 3 American children are either overweight or obese. 1 out of every 3. So in our classes in 7th grade, there are about 40 of us. So that means about 13 of those students would be considered obese. I'm not saying that there are 13 obese students in our 7th grade class, but based on the statistics, that just gives you an idea as to how many would be considered obese if we had that average at our school. 63% of American adults are overweight, and over 1/3 of adult Americans are obese. So the question is, why are people getting more and more overweight? Be thinking about that as we continue on with our slides. BMI, body mass index, is a measure used to determine childhood and adult overweight and obesity. Overweight is defined as a BMI at or above the 85th percentile and below the 95th percentile for children and teens of the same age and sex. So that means for a person to be considered overweight, they need to weigh more than 85% of other people, but below what 95% of people weigh. Obesity is defined as a BMI at or above the 95th percentile for children and the teens of the same age and sex. So what that says is if a person weighs more than 95% more weight than 95% of the people in that group, they're considered overweight. They're considered obese. BMI is calculated by dividing a person's weight in kilograms by the square of height in meters. For children and teens, a child's weight status is determined using an age and sex-specific percentile for BMI rather than BMI categories used for adults. For adults, the BMI formula is the same, but there is a calculator or chart to determine final BMI. So Harvard says BMI is not a perfect measure because it does not directly assess body fat. Muscle and bone are denser than fat, so an athlete or muscular person may have a high BMI, yet not have too much fat. But most people are not athletes, and for most people, BMI is a very good gauge of their level of body fat. This is an obesity slideshow that you will be looking at tomorrow, so be ready for that. That's kind of an interesting one. So poor nutrition, what is it costing our kids on any given day? 33% of US kids are eating fast food. So again, we go back to that 33%, that 1 in 3. So about 13 of our 7th grade students are eating fast food at least once a day. That number is crazy. Now this is not all 3 meals. This is just 1 meal every day. 33% of US kids are eating fast food every day. Some of the reasons why we might see that obesity rate climbing or the overweight numbers climbing are there too many unhealthy choices. When I was a kid, the only ice cream with candy in it was chocolate chip mint. Now, I'm a little bit older than the person that made these slides, so when I was a kid, we had all kinds of different options, not just mint chocolate chip. We had all kinds of different options, but still not as many options as you guys have when you go to get ice cream or whatever unhealthy choice you want. Some of the other options here: Goo Goo Cluster chocolate chunk ice cream, double stuffed Oreos, chili cheese fries, deep dish stuffed crust pizza with extra cheese. My favorite thing is the double stuffed Oreos, but what I would do is I would take two of them and take one of the cookies off of one side and one cookie off of the other side and put the two double stuffed middles together and make a quadruple stuff. Now we're talking. Again, back to those too many unhealthy choices because of sugar. You would not believe how many pounds of sugar each person eats in a year. In the 1800s, a person would consume about 10 pounds of sugar in a year. If you look at that graph, coming down to 2015, an average person is eating 150 to 170 pounds of sugar each year. For most people who want to lose weight, if they just limited their sugar intake, they would lose all the weight they needed. 150 to 170 pounds of sugar, that is ridiculous. And here's, again, another shot of those reasons why we're consuming all of that sugar. Too many unhealthy choices. We're going to talk about portion sizes in a couple days, but let's talk about how many calories we drink for a minute. The Sobe Nirvana has 300 calories and 72 grams of sugar. This is supposed to be a healthy drink. This is supposed to be a juice type of drink. We're getting 72 grams of sugar and 300 calories. A 20-ounce Sun-Kissed orange pop has 325 calories and 88 grams of sugar. A venti caramel frappuccino, as delicious as it is 500 calories and 68 grams of sugar. If you're supposed to eat between 1,700 and 2,000 calories per day, these drinks are about 1/4 of your total calories. Now, as I'm sitting here reading these slides to you, I'm drinking a 20-ounce bottle of Dr. Pepper, which has 240 calories in it and 66 grams of sugar. I know this doesn't go along with my low-carb diet that I've been doing, but sometimes you have to splurge, right?